Greetings, denizens of the internet.
Today I'm going to be refuting this very video that I created. It turns out that my opinion was mid. And I made quite a few mistakes with this video. First among them, I got into the delusion that just because Glamorous Outlaw works for one of my decks, that the whole cycle must be good. I am wrong. And this video is just, oh god, I screwed up so badly. To put it lightly, I was probably snorting some copium on that day. You may be wondering where I was. You know, I didn't expect this much feedback, to be honest. But, yeah. Unanimously, it is pretty much agreed that, this was mid. And that these cards do suck. And you know what? Y'all are absolutely correct. Also, I'm trying to fix audio issues. Unfortunately, I don't have a professional mic yet, so that's why that's not really working out yet, but on the way to a new job. Hopefully it'll get some income coming in so that I can put it towards this passion project. Yeah. So, I'm going to just go through this video and point out every single mistake I made.
Today, I will be showing some.
Okay, there's the first audio cut. That was because I bumped my hand against the bottom of the phone. My phone's weird because it's got a mic on the bottom and then its speaker is also on the bottom. So if I cover the speaker, I cover the mic. It's a pain in the butt. I didn't realize it at the time that I had done this. I'm going to try to avoid that in the future because now that I know where the microphone's at, audio probably won't cut out as much.
Something I like that I think people should use more in Commander is these cards.
Oh god, I feel so horrible about how cringe this came across.
5 cards. They are known as the Tri-Creature Cycle from Streets of Doom.
More like try dog shit.
Capenna. Now, something you may notice. 4 out of 5 of these are rogues, and 1 is a citizen.
That part is completely irrelevant because, you know, okay, sure, it's a generic creature you can stick in a deck. Only issue is I wasn't thinking about the fact that, like, these are just horrible. Like, oh my god. Masked Bandits. Terrible card because it's 2 keywords on a 5/5. When nowadays you can get commons with 3 keywords that are 5/5s. Without the restrictive mana requirement. And yeah, sure, it can help pay for its own cost, but is it really worth using a turn 2 to turn your land into a filter land? Answer, no.
So, 4 of these work as outlaws.
That's technically true. Although I don't think you'd put them in there.
And have different effects. The best, in my opinion, all of them are good because of their second ability.
This is completely false. Their second ability is the worst part of the card. I came to realize this when I tried to build a 5-color deck around them on Arena and immediately got my ass handed to me by a deck that was literally given to a player by the game itself. These cards suck. They suck bad, and they suck horribly.
Well, they're activated abilities, which is pay 2, exile the respective member of the tri-creature
I could have explained this better, honestly. I think I wasted the next minute or two floundering about this.
cycle, and a land becomes a tri-land of their respective type. Now, I've almost never seen these in Commander.
Yeah, there's a good reason for it. Turns out, people don't like playing cards that serve no purpose other than, oh, hey, look, a body. I mean, they're great if you need it, but their ETBs are minimal impact at best, and at worst, it'll only buy you a single turn.
I actually recently built a deck that uses Glamorous Outlaw in it.
And I didn't realize that Glamorous Outlaw hits each opponent instead of target opponent, which was the whole reason I had added it to that deck. Turns out, reading the card explains the card. I did not read the card, so therefore I had a wrongful explanation of it in my head.
Outlaws deck, because I'm doing Don Andreas, and it's a theft deck with Outlaws, with an Outlaw sub-theme, so I figured I'd run it. And,
And well, yeah, it does help with mana fixing. I can see why nobody plays these now. Because damn, they suck. I mean, for commons, like, yeah, they're decent for top ends, but they suck. Like, the Glamorous Outlaws ETB is just horrible. 2 damage to each opponent, that can easily be healed off, even by non-white decks. Scry 2, oh yeah, sure. Okay, so you mean to tell me in one of the sets where, you want to surveil, you get a Scry. Okay, wonderful. And it's a tricolored vampire, so... I mean, if you want to do vampire stuff, it's a card for that. If you are really desperate for vampires.
I had a guy in one of the pods I was playing kind of point out that he actually plays these cards, despite that they're really fun.
This is another stupid issue of audio muffling because I covered the dang microphone again. I'm trying to get better at this. It's just a very slow and painful process. I can't tell you how many times I've rewatched this video and just seen all my mistakes come to the forefront. Oh, God. It's like making a pie and then realizing it has dead animals in it. Alright, let's see. Muffled. Roof, roof, roof. That's it. All you can hear. Yeah.
It's really good, honestly.
Really good, honestly. Yeah, sure. And you didn't hear the last 3 sentences I said there. So, yeah, that's a great way to confuse a viewer. Just, oh yeah, just well, that's something.
Not to mention, each of the tri-creatures has...
Yeah, the muffling audio definitely doesn't help help this video's many errors and just... Oh god, this video is going to age badly, I can already tell. But everyone's got to start somewhere, so I guess this is the first big blunder.
Commits a crime. Well, it doesn't really commit a crime.
Oh man, my phone is literally at full volume.
For 6 mana, I'd say that's pretty good.
And I
6 mana
have trouble hearing this. This is terrible.
And Mass Bandits. This one's menace 5/5. That's a pretty good rate. Considering you're getting 2 keywords on 5/5.
Yeah. Basically, all I'm doing is describing what the abilities are. Again, for like the 3rd time in this video, even though people can read. I don't know why I kept over-explaining these. Honestly, in retrospect, that was probably a very stupid idea. And for a 16-minute video, I could have I explained it's 16 minutes, what took 5. So, yeah, this video got stretched out way too long. And it shows. And bad audio. Let's see. Still bad audio.
Flying, which is something Blue does.
Still bad audio.
He plays these cards, but they can fix your mana. If you're playing a 5-color deck,
They can fix your mana. Yeah, if you're willing to waste time and, oh, hey, look, your opponent's got an Eldrazi processor. Oh, there goes your Glamorous Outlaw right into your yard. What are you going to do about it? Like, bruh, these cards are horrible. Especially with the prevalence of Eldrazi decks now, they're even worse. Like, all it takes is a single Eldrazi processor, and this entire cycle's just moot and rendered absolutely useless if you try and do its mana fixing part. Like, I didn't realize how bad these cards were until I came up against an Eldrazi deck and had all of them get processed out of exile into my graveyard, and my opponent was just getting 3 draw. Like, it's horrible, man.
like I am, I have a 5-color deck. It uses Jericho Zelion. I've been having issues with mana filtering.
I no longer have issues with mana filtering, but I tried this cycle in that deck. It did not work. It failed. And in fact, it is probably the most spectacular failure I've ever seen happen to a deck. Because turns out putting non-lands in the place of lands that filter your mana is usually a bad idea. And I'm never going to do it again.
Cards fix that issue. And you won't technically be losing anything because the card is effectively storing itself for later use.
Technically true, also false, because it is vulnerable in exile. There are cards that can literally, there's even hand removal that can put a face-up card in exile into its owner's graveyard. No, you know that? And that's 2 mana, and it's tacked on to a pilfer. Like, oh my god. Yeah, like, they're, quote, storing them for later, but, oh god. Then you have the issue of, okay, if you cast the Glamorous Outlaw, or whatever member of the cycle you're running, then you have the issue of, oh, now this land's not a tri-land. Is my mana fixed enough that I can cast it and not lose out on the potential colors of mana I need? Also, it's just terrible. But I already said that like 3 times at this point, so.
In addition, this should be noted about all 5 members of this cycle. Yeah, they can fix your mana to cast themselves.
This was an already obvious conclusion that a viewer could have easily come to by the 3rd minute of the video. And when you keep restating things, apparently that's annoying, as one of my friends pointed out. So I'm going to try to avoid doing that in the future, because watching this is extremely annoying.
That's the really cool part. So, for example,
depends on who you ask. Really cool is subjective. I'm going to try and maybe not be as subjective about things, because, you know, really cool to one person is boring as fuck to the other.
Say I'm playing Rakish Revelers, and, you know, I've got 5 mana, but I've only got a red and a white. You know, on turn 5, I'll exile Rakish Revelers to its ability, and then turn 6, I'll cast it, because, you know, it makes 5/3 in a body.
Waste of turn 6, really. I mean, you'd have better luck casting a Colossal Dreadmaw, because at least that would give you a 6/6 body. In green, there are so many better things you could be doing with your turns 5 and 6. 5, you could be ramping. 6, you could cast a huge creature from that ramp. Rakish Revelers is not that good of a card. Yeah, sure, I can see it in some Convoke or token lists, but I was really overselling this cycle. And clearly, I had no idea what it was talking about here.
No one won. Like, yeah, they can basically, like, and if you don't need them, they can just make your lands work better. Because, like, yeah, sure, they don't add land types, but for what they do, these are extraordinarily cheap.
No, they are not. They are horribly inefficient.
I say, if you're running any of these 5 color combinations, or a 5 color deck, or a 4 color deck that runs some of these color combos, pick them up. Believe me, you won't regret it.
Yeah, you'll regret it. And that is probably the worst part of this video. The assurance that you, quote, won't regret it. Clearly, as it works as a fixer for a single land for 2 mana, I'd rather play any 2 CMC mana rock, ones that don't have green, and for the green ones, 2 CMC land ramp works better. Yeah, that first comment completely, like, just is completely true. That's the worst part. Like, there's Commander is so much, like, all the formats are so much faster that on turn 2, usually you don't want to do these abilities on turn 2, because it's just like, okay, I do this, and then everybody just looks at you like, okay, and then just moves on. Like, they're great cards. They're coolly designed cards, but the exile ability should have been 1 mana. They should have, because 2 mana for those abilities is ridiculous. The fact that Alchemy rebalanced them and even gave them stat increases and still nobody uses them is a sign that they are the absolute bottom of the barrel in terms of card quality. And my dumbass thought that because they're decent on Arena, they must be good in paper. They're not. No.
And if you do, oh well, they're only 3 cents anyway. So you're not losing much.
I mean, that point still strikes true. You aren't losing much. If you do use one, they're literally only like pennies. I literally bought like 12 of them from my LGS the other day because they're so low value. Like, you can get the alternate art versions of them for the exact same price you can get the regular versions. There's no value in these cards at all. Like, by the time you'd cast Shattered Seraph, you could have casted something way bigger for the same mana value. Same with the Outlaw, same with the Bandits, same with Revelers. All these cards are inefficient for their rates in different ways.
I mean, the most I've seen one sell for is 30 cents, which is 10 times 3 cents, but...
Mentioning price here is also kind of irrelevant because I mentioned that they're 3 cents. And I don't understand. Looking back, I don't understand why I needed to over-explain this either.
Yeah, that's really about it. They're just so cheap, and the value you're getting out of them is great.
Wow, this aged badly. Value you're getting out of them is great. Oh yeah, sure. Great for losing.
Although, there's something even more interesting to know. These cards got an arena buff the entire cycle.
Yeah, everybody, like, knows this. This is not new knowledge. This happened as soon as Alchemy New Capenna came out. And they're still dog shit.
Now, on Arena, these cards function much similarly to how they do in paper. However...
Yeah, they function almost exactly the same, except their mana filtering ability is actually decently usable. But that's only because there's no processors on Arena. If these things ever become popular on Arena, then all people are going to start doing is just running the things that put stuff from Exile into your yard anyway, and then suddenly they're back down to being garbage. It's honestly ridiculous how I thought that the Arena buff was this amazing thing, when in reality, like, often the games that I even play these cards in, all I'm doing is using them for the filtering ability. I never cast them. Like, I never cast the full card because it almost never comes up. Either I win before the card becomes relevant, or the card's irrelevant by the time I cast it, and I'm just gonna lose anyway.
Each member of the cycle has gotten different buffs. For example, Glamorous Outlaw deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life.
Gaining 2 life? Yeah, it turns out life gain is still ass, even in 2024. It's just, I thought that, making the Outlaw buff was decent. Yeah, no, it's terrible. Still terrible.
Which, has nothing.
Oh, because, one more thing. Turns out, gaining 2 life does almost nothing if you were at 1. Okay? Sure, you gain 2 life. That might save you from a shock, but not a lightning bolt. And, there's a lot of ways to just get around a big blocker now. Pacifisms, effects that remove abilities, and just make your things a 1/1. It's just so fucking bad. God. I really, really, really hate how this video came out.
Added to it, and the ability to exile the card from your hand to make a land a tri-land on Arena.
Again, I already demonstrated at this point that making a land a tri-land was a good thing, but, it would be better if this ability gave the land types corresponding to the colors to the land. Because if it would have been done that way, at least then the 2 mana cost would have been justified, and these could have been used in Domain. However, due to the lack of that effect, all it's doing is just making a land a slightly worse a significantly worse tri-land. Because there are lots of things that synergize with land types, and this entire cycle is just a massive failure on all fronts.
Is buffed as well, because nobody is using these cards on there. So first turn, you can exile these from your hand for their effect to turn a land into a tri-land on the first turn of the game.
Of course, you could also just do that in literally any format if you have a way to ramp ultra quickly, but, almost nobody wants to do this on turn 1 or 2 anyway, so unless you're that desperate for color fixing. But at that point, you might as well just play a filter rock and get some extra value out of it instead of right then and there, because, it'd be a permanent and actually develop the board state.
On Arena, which I think is honestly disgusting. The funniest part, none of them got any nerfs in any meaningful way. Glamorous Outlaw, Masked Bandits, Vigilance Menace, and Masked Bandits got a stat buff, so it went from a 5/5 to a 5/6.
Yeah, it turns out it's still not used because it's still terrible. It's a 5/6, but
still really good value.
Look at that cost. 6 mana for a 5/6. It should have been a 6/6. Come on, man. The Alchemy buff team clearly just doesn't realize how terrible these cards are. If even with stat boosts and their signature ability being 1 mana, is not enough to elevate them to at least a playable state.
The unbalanced ones are really good value, but the rebalanced ones are just stupid.
No, they're not. This is completely false. The entire cycle is junk. The only one that I could see being good, if you can loop it, is the Spara one, which is that one that when it enters, target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. But all that does is stall. So, yeah.
The amount of value you're getting from them is amazing.
No, it's not.
I know I'm a bit biased, but,
No, I'm not more than a bit biased. I'm extremely heavily biased. In such an obvious direction with this video. Like, oh my god, I let my opinions override the facts here, and it shows.
Yeah, the only one that didn't really seem to get any rebalances besides the exile ability change was Rakish Revelers, but that was the best among the cycle anyway, so it was...
That's completely untrue. It could have easily have gotten turned into a 5/4, and that would have at least given people enough value for its cost. It feels like Wizards of the Coast was thinking that part of the cost for the cards should be included with the filter ability, and I don't think that was a good idea, because that weighed down the buffs and just made them completely pointless.
Kind of burned. Shattered Seraph, on the other hand, yeah, I think Shattered Seraph's the other one that didn't get changed. Not really sure. Oh, yeah, okay, Shattered Seraph actually did get changed. They added 1 toughness to Shattered Seraph like they did with...
Yeah, 1 toughness doesn't change almost anything. Like, yeah, sure, okay, that's 1 less, 3 less removal spells that can kill it. But, yeah, I don't know in what world Esper would want to play a non-artifact angel or a non-enchantment angel in their deck. But, you know, if you have an angel deck in those colors, there's an angel. But, yeah, it just is horribly inefficient for its cost even after that, because it's fucking 7 mana? Yeah, 7 mana for an overcosted, inefficient flying body that doesn't even have vigilance. Like, come on, man. It's an angel. Like, how does it not have vigilance? And it's got the worst ability of them all. That being, oh, when it enters, you gain 3 life. Yeah, sure, buddy. That'll give you 1 extra turn at best. At best. At worst, it'll mean literally nothing.
Masked Bandits. As far as Adjudicators, meanwhile, still 4/4.
Still garbage.
And I think it had a mana reduction. No. Okay, Adjudicators wasn't changed, but yeah.
Adjudicators wasn't changed because, well, I don't think there's any possible change they could have made besides making it a 5/5. Like, these cards would be playable if each of them across the board had a +1/+1 buff. But instead, Wizards just went and unevenly divided how everything was buffed, and just nothing mattered anyway because the cards still aren't good. Like, the point of alchemy buffs is to make cards viable, but there's, like, you gotta do more sometimes with buffs, because just increasing a stat point or unnecessarily giving life gain to something almost never works unless this aforementioned card is, you know, actually in a playable state to begin with.
The 3 members of the cycle got changed and were buffed on top of just the...
Again, another conclusion that could have easily been drawn by the viewer.
Universal buff with the tri-creature cycle of going from 2 generic mana for the exile ability to 1. I'd say, please, use these cards. They are amazeballs.
No, they are not. This is completely false again. These cards are very terrible. You have to literally build with them in mind. Otherwise, they will just end up being dead draws late in the game, even if they're high mana value cards. The chance that they will screw up things is more likely. Now, of course, if you're going for multicolored tribal in, you know, whatever colors you want to play, and you can play 1 or more of these cards, that can be a potential good place. However, I definitely overstated and allowed my opinion of these cards to dilute the facts of the matter, and these cards are not underrated. They are correctly rated, turns out, because they are just absolute garbage of the highest order. Like, I've seen vanilla creatures that have done more in games than these cards have. And you don't see them in Commander because nobody plays them in Commander. I only played Glamorous Outlaw, and the deck I was going to put Rakish Revelers into no longer exists because it was turned into a Saskia list. And in that list, I don't need the Revelers because they're inefficient at doing token creation too. Like, I have so many ideas for how they could have buffed these to actually make them usable on Arena, but they're not. Not in a million years. Like, it's just stupid that I thought that these were good cards. And, well, for that viewer, I am sorry for deceiving you. Because, well, turns out I made a mistake. So, this video will stay up, the Underrated Cycles one. I'm just going to make sure to link it in the description and update its title accordingly. So, there will be a link in that video's description to this one. So, yeah. This cycle is probably, in my opinion, the worst possible cycle that has ever been created in Magic. The only one that's worse is the Glyph cycle. And if you know what that is, you're a real pogger there. But, you know, heckin', ugh, I'm bad at using gaming slang. Damn it. Whatever the case, that's that. I don't need to continue this video because, well, it's a garbled mess. But, you know, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all when I next upload, which, depending on how my work schedule goes, may be earlier in the week. I'm thinking Sunday or Mondays. Of course, nothing's really confirmed yet, as I need to still get into the workplace and get things figured out. But life's been throwing me a curveball here. I'm dealing with cleaning up house, you know, just kind of stuff that hasn't really been kept up on. So, in general, what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, firstly, I'm bad at vocalizing shit, as seen by me over-explaining literally everything. But, you know, I just have been busy. So, yeah. Until next time.